Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of hot chocolate with marshmallow if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a man who let his son hold a venomous snake and then karma got them. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. I have several rescued Dobermans, but the two needed for this story are Queen, who was severely abused and is now aggressive and super anxious, and Duke, my service dog for PTSD and a variety of other mental problems. So, because Queen is so aggressive, whenever she goes outside, she has to wear a muzzle and is leashed to me just to make sure she doesn't bolt, to monitor her mental state, and to give lots of love and treats when she focuses on me and not people walking past my house. Helping her has honestly helped me a lot, and Duke is also fairly protective of us both, in a service dog way. He does body blocking where he puts himself between us and whatever is making us upset, relevant to the story, because if this, we do get stares and whispers sometimes, but most people in my neighborhood know about Queen now. Except and nice kid. NK is walking home from school and reaches his hand through the chain link fence holes to pet some of my other dogs. Because he is trespassing, Queen automatically gets aggressive and tries to lunge. Thankfully, she's a smaller Doberman and I am able to stop her and just quickly wave before bringing her inside. I come back outside and say hi, sorry about her. She was just scared. NK nods and asked about why she was scared, so I explained that her old owners were really mean and scary. I said it's like when you watch a scary movie and are scared even after the movie ends. She's just trying to calm down, but it's taking her a while. I grab one of my dogs who are good with kids and bring him out to be petted by NK, and we talk a bit on how to properly approach dogs and to not stick our hands through other people's fences. He leaves and I think we're done. Bring my dogs inside, give Queen her anti-anxiety medication before one more potty break before bed. While I'm outside, NK is standing a bit away while a woman, is leaning against my fence and calling out hey you, because Queen was doing pretty good and seemed fairly unbothered. I walked closer, but left several feet between me and the fence, before giving a treat to Queen and asking what she needed. Conversation is paraphrased since it happened a while ago. My son says you're abusing this dog. She points to Queen. I said someone else abused her and she's still scared. Just waved her hand at him and continued. You need to give her to me and the rest of your dogs before I call the police on you for animal abuse. I'm sorry, but I'm not giving you my dogs. You can call the police, but these are my dogs. I honestly had thought she was bluffing. Started screaming, which is a big trigger for both me and Queen. Hand them over. Queen doesn't lunge, since nobody had come onto her territory yet, but she did start to press against my leg. And was shaking so hard I could see it. This is what she does before a breakdown, as I call them, where she basically goes blind and will attack anyone, including me and my other dogs. She hadn't had one in over a year though, so I didn't take much notice. Thankfully Duke did. Kept screaming while Duke body blocked us both and was trying to lean against Queen for some pressure therapy and keeping his eyes on He was trained to do this so I could feel safe enough to take my eyes off of other people, but it can be unnerving. I understand that. Apparently thought this was an attack stance. Duke is my biggest boy, and if you don't know what an attack stance truly is, it can sometimes look like a dog just standing tall is in ready to attack, and whipped out her phone and called 911, saying something along the lines of an aggressive dog was attacking her and her son. I sent my dogs, who actually listen, inside while I stayed put, too afraid that would climb my fence, but put some distance between me and the fence and brought Queen with me. She was still heavily shaking, and when I crouched down and tried to pet her to calm her down, she snapped at me. I stumbled back, landed on my butt, and Queen had her hackles raised, looking blankly ahead. I tried to talk to her calmly and softly, but is still screaming, now about how I am being attacked, and to hurry. The rest was a mess. The police arrived, and I basically had to cover Queen while she struggled and smashed her muzzle into me, trying to bite me to make sure they wouldn't do anything, while I also cried, which freaked Duke out as he ran around us in circles, trying to figure out what to do. Eventually, the police told me to bring my dogs inside and to come out and talk. Duke refused to leave my side, so I put his harness on and brought his papers for proof just in case. I bring them everywhere, to be honest, and we both went outside. I was able to produce Queen's papers and even called my vet for proof that she is a scared dog, not an aggressive dog, and my vet even explained some of her treatment plan to them all. By the end of it, myself, Queen and I'm pretty sure Duke as well, not to mention my other dogs, we're all so emotionally drained, we just went to bed, and I called in late to work for the next day. Several of my neighbors have told me they gave their own statements to the police about my dogs and Queen, and thankfully we have a few security cameras that can sort of view my yard, and the police have since dropped the case. I saw NK today, which is why I thought of this story. He slid a note under my fence that said sorry with a few drawings of my dogs and me. It was very cute and sweet. I hope he is okay though, he looked really scared when I more or less flung myself over Queen while she had a breakdown. I am so sorry that this idiot woman was allowed to run around off of her leash like that. She should be taken by the police, not just simple conversation. When I was 17, I bought a used mini bike and used it to get to and from a part-time job. My brother is the boy my parents extra coddled because he was diagnosed as high-functioning autistic. And anything I had, my brother had to have too. And if I refused to give it, my parents generally took it. At least until that behavior was exposed to the public when my parents tried to cancel my 14th birthday. After that my parents stopped forcing me to give my stuff to my brother whenever he wanted it. And that led to some extra huge tantrums from him. My brother would look for things around the house to throw to the floor and break. Usually dishes. My parents actually stocked up on plates from second-hand stores because of that. When I got the mini bike, my brother was upset I wouldn't ever let him ride it. But he's destructive with all his stuff. Every time he broke his BMX, I'm the one who had to fix it. Change a flat, new pedals, new tire, new handlebars, new brake line, etc. He's got a stunt BMX that he begged for. And my parents spent hundreds on it. But as much as he loves it, he never fixes it himself or properly takes care of it. Just calls me over begging me to fix it. My parents got him the parts and have the tools, but he never bothers to do anything more than pump up a tire. And even then he usually tries to get someone to do it for him. He's also very careless in where he leaves the bike. He left it in a neighbor's driveway and its handlebars got run over by the neighbor's van. He somehow destroyed the pedals and a new pair had to be put on. He broke the rear brake line while having a tantrum too. The tire was understandable though since those wear out. But it wasn't hard to swap it and I shouldn't have had to come over on a Saturday to do it when my brother is perfectly capable of doing it himself. So damn right I'm not letting him take my mini bike on a joyride. Especially with gas prices being so high these days. The mini bike gets like 60 miles per gallon. So what that it only goes 40 miles per hour. I only have a 5-mile commute anyway. About a month before my brother's 14th birthday, my parents called me begging me to come over and fix the BMX again. Little bro had worn the rear tire down to its threads. I was annoyed, but I came over anyway because they offered to pay me. I swapped the tire and sat down for a bottled water because it was like 100 degrees that day. My brother watched me work on the bike till I was done. His helmet was on, so I figured he was just waiting to go riding on his bike. But the moment my back was turned I heard my mini bike start up outside and then take off. Little bro took off like a rocket down the street on it before I could get out of the garage. I freaked out, but my parents tried to play it off. Though when I didn't placate them, they said they'd get my mini bike back right away. But for them that was more like just waiting till my brother came back with it. I was annoyed and I wanted to call the police. But I'm not sure if they'd call it a domestic issue or not. My brother finally came back an hour later. He'd somehow not crashed. But the moment he saw me, he took off again. He drove the bike till it ran out of gas and my parents had to go get him. To say I was furious was an understatement. But my parents basically rolled their eyes, handed me $40 and claimed it wouldn't happen again. I said it better not or I'd call the cops next time. Not sure if it'd help, but they seemed to take my warning. I had to push my mini bike to the nearest gas station to fill up before I could go home. Before I left I told my parents that if my brother wants a mini bike so bad, then they should get him one. But then they pulled a 180 and said he wasn't ready to have one because it's a big responsibility and that it was too dangerous because it's practically a motorcycle. I mean really they just let him steal mine for like 2 hours to go joyriding to God knows where and they don't want to get him one themselves whatever. I'm used to their hypocrisy by now. The last time I went to my parents' house, my brother was massively grounded and in his room for his birthday rampage I mentioned in my first post. But just to be sure, I pulled the spark plug wire off my bike before I entered the house. My brother was glaring at me from his window when I left. I just gave him a goofy wave and drove off. Call the cops next time he commits a carjacking. Maybe a few fines and a chew out from the cops will make them be parents. Tell them all straight up what will happen and that you will press charges. This past weekend, I decided that it would be a good idea to hit up some biking trails at the local nature preserve. I packed up my trail bike early in the morning to go riding since the morning was the coolest the temperatures were going to be for that day. A thing to note is that in Texas, we experience triple-digit heat in the summer, and because of this, snake encounters are much more frequent in parks and nature preserves. Most of the time, the snakes tend to avoid places where people frequent, even more so with bikers. However, sometimes there are rare encounters. On to the story. I was riding through the trails just enjoying the scenic ride. I was enjoying cool temperatures due to the forest overcast and the wonderful serenity of nature. I had soon reached a part of the trail that ran alongside a creek, and up ahead, I saw a park ranger holding a long stick and standing next to a plastic container. I also noticed that he was intensely focused on something on the side of the trail. As I approached, the park ranger saw me and quickly put his hand out, motioning me to stop. I immediately hit the brakes and got off my bike. Out of curiosity, I tilted my head to catch a glimpse of what the ranger was focused on. What I saw caused my eyes to grow wide. On the side of the trail was a very beautiful, but very venomous copperhead that was coiled up to strike. I quickly checked my surrounding area to see if there were any other snakes near me. Luckily for me, I didn't see any. I nervously watched as the ranger caught the copperhead using his stick, carefully placed it inside the container and slammed it shut. Nice catch. Thank you, we usually don't get copperheads on this part of the preserve. This little guy must have wandered over here overnight. Enter the entitled parent. As I got closer to the park ranger to get a better look at the snake, I heard a voice coming from behind me. The kid, about 12 years old and with a British accent, was approaching with his dad, a tall and very husky fellow, and saw the ranger holding up the box with a still very pissed off copperhead inside. Daddy, look. That man has a snake. It reminds me of the one I had back in England. Pretty one, isn't it? Maybe we can take it home as your new pet snake. The ED walked right up to the park ranger. Excuse me, sir, do you think by chance you could give me that snake so I let my son keep it as a pet? The park ranger gave the man a look that clearly had the expression of, are you serious right now? I really don't think you want this snake as a pet. Rubbish. I've had pet ball pythons for years back in my home country. This snake won't be any different. This is definitely not a ball python, nor a snake you should treat as one. Just give me the snake. The ED suddenly snatched the box away from the park ranger and pushed him back, causing him to stumble backwards and fall into the creek. I rushed to help up the park ranger. As I was doing so, I saw the Darwin Award-worthy moment unfold. Daddy, he's beautiful. Can I pet him before we take him home? Sure. The ED opened the box containing the still pissed off copperhead, and EK proceeded to reach inside. The snake wasted no time and immediately lashed out and bit EK's hand. The EK cried out in pain and started crying. The ED threw the box on the ground, to which the snake quickly escaped into the bushes. I was very attentive to where the snake landed and slithered off to. While the ED was checking on EK, the park ranger called for a medical unit and notably a police officer. The ED seemed confused about the call. I don't think the medical call was necessary, it's just a minor snake bite. I don't think you understand, sir, that snake wasn't just like a harmless ball python. That snake was a copperhead, bites from them are venomous. Wait, so you're telling me that you guys just let venomous snakes just freely roam the park? Well, sir, this area is part of the snake's natural habitat. Still, you guys should be doing something about that. People walk through here. That's exactly what I was doing until you took the snake from me, sir. Can you believe this rubbish? Don't bring me into this, dude. After all, you did take the snake from the ranger. A golf cart with a medic and what looked like a senior ranger arrived, and the medic immediately sat EK down to look at the bite. The senior ranger, let's call him senior, walked over to us, and the ED wasted no time complaining. You blokes ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Public park with dangerous snakes wandering about. Sir, this region is part of their natural habitat. While we work to keep them from public areas, you are still going to encounter them from time to time. But from what my coworker tells me, you took the snake from him and then let your son try to pet it. Yes. Well, we have an ambulance to take your son to the hospital at the park entrance and an officer that would like to have a word with you. I suggest you come with me." The ED sheepishly got onto the cart with his son and the four of them all left for the park entrance. I took the opportunity and finished up my bike ride while keeping an eye out for any more snakes. When I got to the park entrance, I saw the senior ranger from earlier. I curiously asked him what happened after they got back to the park entrance. Apparently, the cop they called was waiting for ED when they got there. The cop let him off with a warning, but not after giving him a stern butt chewing about how he should have arrested him for child endangerment. That's going to be an expensive mistake for the idiot father. His travel or medical insurance won't want to touch that since it was deliberate stupidity. I hope the kid recovers though, because that's no joke. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman whose kid tried to hurt OP's dog cause he is dangerous. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.